Our ships can take 6 each.
It's still 3 short.
We'll find a way.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to One Frame After Another. This is the first scene I wanted to look at today because I think it's great the way they introduce the sandworms. So first of all, the way they set up this scene, they use a storytelling device that's called a ticking clock. It's when you set up that something's inevitably going to happen and our characters have to get in and get out under a specific time.
Worm is on intercept course to your position. Contact in 5 minutes.
So it's a great way to set up urgency and really put a lot of pressure and drama on our characters. But what's so good about it here is they've also combined it with a creature reveal. Every time they show the worm getting closer, it's not only a clock ticking down, but they're also teasing its reveal. So the time pressure really allows them to build up anticipation without it feeling slow or stilted. So there's something I want to talk about here which is pretty cool. In real life there's a lizard called a sandfish skink, and they can vibrate their body to a certain frequency which almost liquefies the sand around them and allows them to swim through it. So Villeneuve uses this as a way to explain the worm's movement. So that's why as the worm gets closer you see the sand start to vibrate. But instead of saying let's use VFX to try capture the vibrating sand, he got a special effects team to try and liquefy the sand in real life. So they built a rig that was pretty much a vibrating plate. And although it didn't work in a large area, so they couldn't actually get what they wanted, it did work in a smaller one. So that's what you're seeing in the close-ups of the hand as they sink into the sand. And even before I knew all this, I always loved this part of the scene because it's just so immersive. We can almost feel the ground sinking beneath the characters. And it's those close-ups of the hand that makes us feel this way. And I think it shows us the importance of trying to capture as much as possible in camera, because even though you might not be able to get exactly what you want, you might end up finding something that's just as good or maybe even better.
Bless the maker and his water. Bless the coming and going of him. May his passage cleanse the world and keep the world for his people.
I just love that. Her prayer over this kind of very epic shot. And interestingly, actually, this is a very obvious example of what's called the golden ratio, which is a composition that human beings find most interesting to look at. And you can see it here, how the platform they're standing on leads into this outer circle. And then within that outer circle, there's also the ship is being swallowed up. And it's a spiraling effect. It's almost like a seashell. And the spiral is actually even intensified in this shot because the ship they're standing on is going one way, but the harvester getting swallowed up is spinning the other way. So it's an extremely intense shot. And just the scale of the worm and everything and her prayer, there is a very nearly religious feel to the whole sequence. So have a quick look at this. So this guy notices something, and then we see what we think is his POV. And there's just a glimpse of a shadow, so someone's looking down from above. And it's revealed that the bad guys are already floating down. And it's only until we see the cup that we realize, oh no, they've already gone into hiding. What he's actually playing with here is what the audience know versus what the characters know. So for most of cinema, the audience and the characters have a shared perspective. So when something's revealed to the character, it's usually also revealed to us. But then sometimes what you'll find is the audience will be ahead of what the character knows. And this is used a lot in horror, where we know there's something down the hallway and we're watching the character slowly walk down there and we're shouting at the screen, don't go down there. And then the third perspective is actually when the characters are ahead of the audience. Like at the end of an action film where the bad guy's flying away in a helicopter and we think he's got away with it, but then it's revealed that the good guy is holding up a pin off a grenade. You know, that's it's a very specific example. But directors are always playing with it throughout films in a very subtle way as well. You know, you think the character's in danger, so it creates suspense. But then when it's actually revealed to you that the character knew all along, there's a twist. So I thought this was a great example of something that cinema does really well, and that's anticipation. Obviously, the big action scenes are very dramatic, but a lot of time it's actually the build up to them, which is even more so. You know, there's not much going on in the scene. It's just there's a noise out the other side of the door, and the people are reacting to it. But with those elements and the music building up beneath it, the scene is very suspenseful. And I think it's good just to remember that you don't always have to be pushing the story forward as quick as possible. And I remember listening to an interview with Vince Gilligan, and he was saying it's only when he had the confidence to really slow down Breaking Bad, which is when it got much more exciting. And it makes sense when you think about it, because most of the time what you're doing is you're setting up conflicts or tension, and if you're pushing the story forward very fast, you're actually resolving these things very quickly. So actually what you want to do is stretch it out and just keep adding pressure and pressure and pressure.
You should welcome my blade. This world will kill you. Quicker this way.
So the last thing I wanted to look at today is the duel between Jamis and Paul. And what's interesting about it is they play with a narrative device that's known as the death of the mentor. So a lot of the time in an adventure story, our hero will come across an older, more experienced character who takes them under their wing. And as the story progresses, what usually happens is that character loses their abilities or maybe even dies. And the purpose of that is to remove the safety net that the mentor offers and create a catalyst for the hero to transform even faster. And what's interesting about it here is Paul's put in a no-win situation, because in his eyes, Jamis is supposed to be his mentor. So when he's forced to kill him, it plunges the story into a lot of uncertainty. Because first of all, it shows that Paul's premonitions aren't written in stone. And secondly, we think, how is he going to survive Arrakis without his supposed mentor? But also there's a feeling that this should have never happened. It feels as if though Paul's taken the wrong path. Almost a doomed path that's going to lead to more death and destruction. And I thought this is a great way to finish the first film because it really throws Paul into the deep end, and it makes us, the audience, very excited to see how he's going to overcome these challenges in the next film. So that's all I got for today, everyone. I hope you found some of it interesting, and hopefully I'll see you next time.